Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. Y'all, today we have Meg Benedicte, and we're going to be talking about removing barriers to spiritual power. And I'd like to even invite us that we're even going to go further than that. Uh, there's a potency that is awakening in all of us in different ways. And before we went live on the call today, I was asking Meg questions and we are comparing notes, but in my questions to her and on her answers, I was seeing an essence that she brings through as translated through my vision of how she creates, how she engenders this intelligence and this technology through her beingness for all of us to benefit from. It's going to be a powerful call. We may get into Zeptepi. We're definitely going to get into Metatron, of course. I'm hoping we'll get into a transmission that's going to benefit all of us today. I needed a little bit of grounding. Meg let me know that there was a big solar flare, which made sense because I've been out of my body all day and didn't know why. Um, it's going to be an amazing call. We'll probably get into some Q&A also. But y'all, this is going to
Yes.
be powerful. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Meg, welcome today to the call.
Thank you. Thank you. Always just a dear friend to be here with you. And welcome everyone to join us. We're going to have some fun here.
Yeah, we are. So can we start with how I started my day, tossing and turning, not sleeping, woke up feeling like I drank 10 cups of coffee back to back, felt out of my body. It's taking me probably until now, until you mentioned what's been happening with these flares, for
Yeah,
me to feel a sense of grounding. Can we start there? Maybe can you help us all to anchor in a little bit?
sure. Like you, when I woke up this morning, I feel it like an energy hangover. It's like, whoa, oh my God, everything aches. And, my throat's all sore. I can't breathe. My lungs are all thick. And I woke out of what I call a matrix dream where I'm running to try to get out of a mall and then it's like a video game and then it flips. And now I'm stuck in some stadium. I'm trying to find the exit, and then I flips, and I'm on the freeway, and the traffic won't move. Like these things drive me nuts. I have them about once a month, and that's all about getting out of the matrix. So that was my dream, and it happened during the sex flare. So uh, we're over here on the Pacific coast. Maybe if you're in the East Coast or over in further into Europe, it might have might have been earlier for you, even maybe before you went to bed last night. But it's such a powerful infusion because this is plasma energy that's coming onto the planet, it's coming into the geomagnetic field, and we live in this geomagnetic field, so it's coming into our electromagnetic field. What I find about these are the plasma is full of electrons. It's like if you're in a lightning storm, that's what plasma energy is, right? It's electrical, it's full of electrons. And that's why my body has trouble ingesting it at that strength, that power. And that's why you've got, you're buzzing because all that electricity is like shortened through your circuitry. And but what it's also doing is it's thinning the dense magnetic fields in the planetary field, but also in our own energy field. And when that happens, it's like it's opening up the spin points or nodal points in your meridians, and so all this electrical current, or what we call light. Light is electrical current coming in, but it's galactic light. And so this is the key. This is why we're evolving so quickly, and we're in a solar maximum right now. So there's just constant infusion of this galactic light consciousness that's pouring into our brains and into our bodies and into our chakra system and all of that. And it's speed. This is they call it the quickening, right? It's speeding everything up
Hmm.
like fast.
When you would think that I would know when this happens to ground in, to remember to do this after years of these experiences, but we forget sometimes. It's like, again,
Well,
it's like
you're
I'm
so overwhelmed by it. You're just like,
right?
whoa. Yeah, I immediately start just breathing in my own inflow of energy to, just kind of drop more down into my body, get into my belly, get into my hips, right? Just kind of right, let's just drop in. You can get up and stand and run your energy down your feet chakras into the earth, and just it's a grounding, it's just literally grounding all that excess electrical current that's running through you. I also, because I'm a vortex healer, I'll immediately use the vortex, and I just ask to spin off the excess because I want the benefit of it, but yeah, spin off the excess.
And again, it's what this brings me to also is bringing in these tools, but first of all, getting present. It's like being aware. I think I didn't get into my awareness because I've been so scattered with so many different things that are
Well,
happening
yeah, look at all your
simultaneously,
handling.
with all
Yeah,
the things that we're navigating. And
yeah,
it's good practice when, again, leading to a major portal that we'll be traveling to in Egypt, because there'll be a lot of energy there. So to get
yeah,
into the self-mastery of grounding ourselves in,
yeah.
um, and consistently. And it feels like we need to do it. It needs to become more like a daily regimen rather than something that we just do when we're feeling completely overwhelmed by it.
I would definitely do it daily. If you just when you get out of bed, just kind of ground to earth, like just stay. If you're using a grounding mat, that helps. But you can even do, eat grounding foods like root vegetables. There's, oils you can use. Do everything that you're drawn to be very present. You could use music if that works for you, but whatever just kind of pulls you in, gets you centered, gets you grounded. I like to do movement. I do Pilates, and I like to walk in nature. That just pulls me right in. So whatever works for you, because this isn't letting up. So we need some kind of practice that will support it.
Well, this is part of what I'll call the Jedi training to our spiritual power as well. It's practices like this, remembering the devotion to those to really serve ourselves and to practice presence,
Yeah,
because there's a lot of things that want to distract us. The energies that are coming in, yeah, they'll have us scattered, but then everything else that is psychically, telepathically, electromagnetically vying for our attention, um, it's really part of the call, that self-mastery. And I believe part of the initiation to remember to be present, to ground in. And the more proficient that we get on that, that power that is capable of growing within us has the capacity to do it in a way that is efficient, that is in alignment rather than bouncing off all these walls
yeah.
and having to be hard to receive.
Well, yeah, what you're talking about too, that mastery, it's it took me time. Boy, it took some years to really be able to hold my focus. Like that's hard when the focus is getting, bouncing all over the place and getting distracted and dissociated and all this stuff. So learning how to hold your focus, and I think now even more so is really try to have more of your focus internal now and not out to the astral plane, because it's the chaos field right now and you don't want to empath that. You just don't want to open your field to that. So it's just holding more of that kind of inner focus. I tell people it's kind of like having, I got one eye open out to the physical, but then I hold here for this, one in for the spiritual and one out to the physical.
Sleeping like the dolphins.
Yeah.
So Meg, it's there's an expansion taking place, obviously, with all these accelerations, the solar flares, everything that's happening now is really working as an accelerant into these light bodies that we're expanding into, and it's hallelujah, yes, amazing. Well, let's get into it. And I know that we've talked about this a lot, but I want to anchor it in. Why
Okay.
are we being accelerated during this time?
Okay, so this year is a breakthrough year. I consider 2012 was a breakthrough year as well. At the end of 2012, December 21st, that's when I had been called up to move to Manchester just a couple months before the big moment, and get myself up there. It's the root chakra of the planet, and that was the time when what we would call the control matrix or the control programming of the planet unlocked. And so everything has been opening and unwinding, and so many are awakening since 2012. Like this is the unraveling, right? The whole system is starting to unravel. Then, of course, you look at the astrology, and that's supporting this as well. Where even right now, we're at 29 degrees Capricorn Pluto. This is the final degree, and we have just 2 months left of it for our entire life. Pluto is that Pluto is the death and rebirth planet, and it's in Capricorn of the patriarchy. All right. So it's 29 degrees. It's the end of an era. We're almost done with it. And this is being supported as we watch what's happening out in the world, too. So this whole kind of hierarchy, top down power system has started to unravel and lose its control over the kind of the mind, hive mind or group mind, right? The collective mind. And this is fantastic. So this year is it's an 8-year, it's the year of the dragon. And it's another breakthrough year where what I have been experiencing is now it's continuing with the unraveling, but it's now with the eclipses being in the last 2 years. The eclipses have been in Aries, Libra, and it's all about our relationship to power. This is all about the collapse of this old hierarchy, egoic power structure and system, and replacing it with the Aquarian, more what we consider a collaborative or circular operating system. So we're moving away from being controlled by the ego self. We're moving into more of living as the higher self in this new collaborative, compassionate, heart-centered operating system. So it's really exciting. And this year was a big breakthrough in that. And what I began to notice, so since I'm up here at Mount Shasta, and I have spent, so many years getting into the portal, getting into the gateways there, working on them. When I first got there in 2012, it was like Demon City up there. I was like, what? Like, this is like, what? And so there's been so many light workers have been called to Shasta and doing work and clearing and cleaning up and raising the vibration of that root chakra, because nothing can take hold here on this planet unless it first takes hold in the root chakra. That's why there's so much battle going on there. And it is literally kind of the first gate, right? So I can see why there was so much happening there. In 2019, this is December 12th, 2019, end of the year. It was a powerful 12, 12, 12 gateway. You add up 2019, it's 12. And this launched the pandemic, right? It was literally just weeks before this thing started going global. And it put the whole world into a healing crisis. And so on that gate, 12, 12, 12, December 12th, 2019, I watched the two timelines bifurcate. And so this is where we now have what we consider like two lanes or two highways, right? Or two paths of reality that are active and available on the planet. And that's what we're seeing is happening, is where people choose to live and to connect to and ground into and really embrace the energy of that. Those are the two very different timelines. One is still what I call the old Atlantean kind of fallen consciousness, dark matrix timeline. It's fed by fear, and that's the hierarchy, the top-down control program. The new one is, as I mentioned, it's the heart-centered timeline. So it is of compassion, and it is very embracing of all life on the planet. And these are two so very distinct, different realities, different timelines. We call it the New Earth timeline. I've been, I had my website 20 years ago for New Earth Central. This has been something I've been working on for over 20 years. But this is what I would consider the ascension timeline. If you want to use the term, this is the ascension timeline. And what I noticed this summer, well, I've been going to, these gates. So last year to Egypt, and then this year to Glastonbury, and then back at Mount Shasta multiple times with retreats there, and watching what's happening with these gates as these earth chakras. And what I've been seeing this year, those older, let's call them, the bridge gates, they're dissolving. They're just finishing. They're just every time I would go into the top of the mountain and get into them, they're getting thinner, and I'm like, these things are getting like, what's going on here? They're disappearing, and then the ascension gates lit up, and they are huge, and they're shimmery, crystalline, powerful light gates, ascension gates. So I've been getting in them this whole summer and merging into them so that I'm just living them. I'm like, and when we go to Egypt, I'm just going to stay in the ascension
Yeah.
gates. And this way, then those of us who are gatekeepers and grid workers, we're really enforcing this and securing it and grounding it and anchoring it in for everyone to be able to access it and be able to. It's so different. I mean, I'm almost giddy, it's like I finally feeling like a flutter of hope inside, like, oh my God, we might finally be here, right? Because I wasn't sure I was even going to experience this before I passed up, for I don't know how long this is going to take. I'm like, I'm going to be alive to be able to experience this. So I'm thrilled to get more into the energy of the ascension gates, the ascension timeline. You start to first you start to relax in your body, because then you're like, okay, I'm safe. All right, there's no, battle between, evil and good going on here. There's none of that
Right.
here, right? I'm just safe. I am in a really high crystalline frequency. It allows me to clear out whatever's left from being in that other system and creating a pure soul pillar, the home for the soul to descend down in. And you just start, it's all almost now where it's just about being your soul, because I think to get to this point, there was a lot of doing we had to do,
Mhm.
right? But now it's like, oh my God, I've arrived, and now I could just be my divine human. This is amazing.
I really appreciate that you're talking the beingness that is emerging because again, our topic is about spiritual power. In that context, what does spiritual power, how does that translate to you? And how would you like to share that with our audience for it to be received? Because there's so many concepts or
Yeah,
interpretations or egoic visions of what that could be. And I'd love for you to ground it in for us.
definitely. Since we were born into that system, power did mean egoic power. It's like it got hijacked or taken over by egoic control. So it was all about, me and what I want, what I can acquire and take. And it's very unhealthy, actually. And so anyone who's seeking power in that system isn't coming from a high consciousness place at all, right? They're coming from more of that primal brainstem of the ego. And so in this new timeline, power means something completely different. First thing I noticed is your soul light is your power now. It's not your ego. So your soul light is the most powerful energy in you. It's more powerful than the dark. It's more powerful than anything in this universe. Your soul light is your power source. You are like your own central sun, right? You are radiating like a sun. Your soul light rays, your soul power. That is then a game changer, because then that's the being part. Okay, I'm just going to be my sun, right? I'm just going to be my soul light. I'm going to radiate it everywhere. And you are influencing everything around you by just being your soul light power. I also find that it's not, because it's so integral and whole and clean, it's not trying to take anything. It's right. It's not coming from a place of wanting anything else. It is all that you are. You are embodying all aspects of your soul, right? All that you are is pulsing here. So there's nothing missing. There's nothing needing anything outside yourself. You're soul filled, right? Your soul source. And when you're in that state of soul sourced, you have no dependencies on anything then outside yourself. You got it all in here. Like everything you need is in here. And because it's getting into your soul light's getting into your magnetic fields, you're building soul magnetism and soul flow coming down your pillar and feeding you and filling you. And so you're magnetizing in everything that matches your soul. So that there's no more pushing or efforting or struggle. That's why you can just be and know your own soul light, your own soul power, your own soul magnetism is just drawing in everything that you need.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
believe that when we're trying to do, or we put on the mask to, for whatever reason that we put it in, that's when we start to diminish that light. We become much more aware of that, but that diminishment of that power starts to occur as we dip into the old system. And so we will be feeling when
We want
we're
to pull
offline. Yeah.
100% out of that old system.
Mhm.
And so that's a good reminder is and I had to just watch. Maybe I was 80% out of it, and I had to just watch where I was still getting tripped up or triggered in that old system. Watch for those signs, and then you go and you grab your energy and go, all right, we're out of here, I'm done. So what are some signs? Some, of course, is this competition that's feeling greater than others, that's the judgment, the criticism. This is all signs that there's still part of you still over in that hierarchical system where you are trying to acquire, but it's to so you feel better about yourself. Okay, that's now again coming from now more of the less than ego side. So you're just looking for all these areas that you get either tripped up or triggered. Those are your signs. Oh, okay, I still got a bit of me over there. I had to really watch the competition. Every once in a while, I would get triggered. Someone would be trying to compete with me, and I could feel myself react to it. I was like, oh, all right, we got a little bit more of that. All right, let's pull out of that. And pretty soon, then you get 100% of yourself over into the new energies, into the new timelines. So this is not a passive process. I really need to emphasize that because
I
this
appreciate that.
unfortunately gets spoken out into the spiritual community all the time. You don't have to do anything. Yeah, you kind of do. You have to kind of watch what's coming up
You
for
get we're
clarity.
doing a lot, but we're not doing it in the way that it's a different type of doing. Um, it's we're building up presence and intimacy with the electromagnetics, with the light that we're building up, and that's no small feat.
Well, and you're also doing mastery. Okay, that is not passive. I'm sorry, but it's not. You're polishing yourself, right? You're refining yourself. You're looking for where's the kind of the lower consciousness or the unhealthy habits or behaviors. You're cleaning that out. Metatron always calls it internal house cleaning, right? We're in there, we're cleaning out this stuff, and so that we can be the master higher self.
Mhm. I mean, presence, y'all. It's like that requires a lot of energy and focus and redirecting, and that's a state of being. But part of us feels like we have to do it, and when we can shift, there's a mastery that comes in that allows us to maintain that as we maintain presence. It's like the neuroscientists, the quantum physicists say, it's if we can hold a thought or energy for a specific period of time, you start manifesting, you start creating that into form. And we're learning how to do that in a very profound way.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym. You're strengthening that psychic muscle, right? You're strengthening your mastery with practice.
So, what are the barriers to that spiritual
Mhm.
power?
Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of them. So,
Well, let's assume the group is pretty, they've been in it with us for a while, which I know they have. Um,
all right. So I'm just going to go through a few of them because over the years, I just either find them in myself or I've been, working with clients for the past 25 years. So I'm seeing what shows up. Where, do we hit the wall? Where we got opposition? Where do we feel blocked? And so there's a couple things to watch for. So you mentioned, John, about frequency. All right, look at your frequency because the frequency can show up as a barrier. You could be where you're in those lower energetics, like fears, like one of the lowest, rage, these kinds of things. 7, 8 hertz, and the soul
Mm.
is so vibrant and high frequency, and so that creates this like density barrier between where our human is and where our soul is. In quantum physics, the energy is both a wave and a particle, and so that's the work that I teach: is how do we dissolve the veil between the physical realm and the human realm, physical realm, and the spiritual realm. So you got the particle field and the wave state, right? There's a dimensional barrier, there is a frequency barrier, there's a magnetic field barrier. That's just between the two realms. But then once you start getting into yourself, then we also have a barrier between our human container, our human body, and our spiritual container, our spiritual body. And I know when I first had my awakening, I couldn't feel energy at all. That barrier was strong, right? I couldn't sense my soul or higher self. I couldn't feel anything running through my body. I was in such density. So that's where I had to work on clearing the density out, clearing these low vibrational energies out. So that could be, of course, stuck emotion. That could be I'm like, I couldn't even breathe because my heart chakra was so locked with all that emotional trauma. And so the heart, of course, is the bridge right between the lower human chakras and the higher spiritual chakras. I mean, there was barriers all over. I have found that I think, it's my opinion, but I think most of what I'm finding in all these years working with people is, I think most of the barriers are in the mind. And the
Mm.
reason for this is because when we open in our spiritual awakening, it's a magnificent experience because now we have that awareness, right? We're not locked into just the ego programming. Now we have this observer awareness, and we start to sense there's more than just this, height, width, depth, 3 dimension, right? We start to realize, oh my God, there's so much more than just the physical body and the physical world. So that's great. But also, what happens in spiritual waking is your field opens, and all around the body is the astral plane. And then it's in the astral plane that this chaos is going on, this polarities are going on, right? The battle between light and dark is going on, and the astral plane is full of uh, discarnate entities. And I mean, it's just kind of like, a shit show out there in that astral plane, and your field opened up. So this is part of what I teach is then, because I had to go through it myself. I was wide open. I was having a lot of problems, a lot of interference, and a lot of it can get into your mind because your thoughts aren't originating in your brain. The brain is just kind of like a processing mechanism. The thoughts are coming in from the astral plane. And so you might think, and I see this all the time, people think that, so and so is talking to them and blah, blah, blah. And you don't know who's talking to you because it's all coming in
Mm.
from that pretty polluted astral plane. And so this is why the mastery is so important, because then we can start to be really clean, really clear on what we allow to come through that filtering processing system called a brain. And one of the ways to do that, of course, is you keep increasing your energy frequency higher and higher, and you're getting your brain waves higher and higher. You're like rising up. It's like oil on water, right? You're kind of moving beyond that sludge, right? You're rising up beyond the lower vibratory unconsciousness that is polluting so many people in the mind. So there is actually, as I mentioned, even a global program running. It's a fear program or a control program, and it's all has to get removed. All has to get cleared out. So I would look for anything, even veils between left right brain, any veils third eye crown. You're looking for these barriers or blockages that are preventing your access to your entire psychic mind, higher self mind,
Mm.
and your channel,
And
your
your
pillar.
channel.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot that's coming through, and there's certain things that in the special offer, y'all, what we're going to get into that, Meg really goes deep into how we can reconnect, how we can deepen our soul connection, how we can clear the energetic blocks, how you can break barriers, increase your energy frequency, all of it. How's this different than what a lot of other people may be teaching out there? Because I know you have pretty high standards in the way that you work with these energies.
Well, this is a technique that I got started with Metatron when I had my awakening 30 years ago. And so I started having these visitations with Metatron in my room. Big bright light being. I didn't even know who it was at first, but began to learn this is a archangel who is here at this time on the planet helping us through this planetary ascension. So he was showing me how to work with his technique and his Metatron cube template and activate vortex energy to accelerate this process. And it's been life changing to be able to work with it. And so it's working on lots of different levels, but basically what it's doing is it is dissolving and removing these barriers between the physical and spiritual realms,
Mm,
so you can really start to get into your own energy and remove whatever is problematic, right? And then create this beautiful sacred vessel for the higher self to descend down and in. But it's doing so many things. Think of it kind of like a spin cycle in your laundry, right? It's spinning out the density, right? All that water is getting spun out of your clothes, right? So all that density is getting spun out of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, right? Out of your aura. You're spinning out the lower human energetics, and then it creates a vacuum in the center of the vortex that starts to pull the higher self, the soul energy into your body to replace what you just spun out. How cool is that? So it's also too a unifier. It's kind of like a blender, right? It's starting to unify where everything was all fragmented and split and separate. It's unifying your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual body to start to become whole again. So it has been quite transformative, but partly too, I think what kind of takes it to the next level is that it's opening you up beyond just the physical, which is 3 dimensions, and the astral plane, which is 4 dimensions of space time. It's blowing through those. So now you have access to fifth dimension, which is where we go quantum. And I know that word's starting to get bandied around all over the place, but I don't know if everyone quite understands what that means. Because when we go quantum, that means then our energy can coexist as both a wave and a particle. That means our energy can be both divine, spirit, soul, and human physical matter. This is our goal. Our goal uh, is to animate the human as a soul, right? To animate spirit within us. And I think that's what everyone is seeking at a very visceral level, is to connect to spirit, connect to their soul, and to start to live as their soul.
that's beautiful. And we'll get into where some of the energy portals around the world are amplifying this for us, and also technology that's been embedded into these specific locations that we're ready to start receiving because of what we're capable of doing with quantum access. And so I want to get into that in a little bit. It's Chris or April, will you put the link for the special offer in the chat box? Meg's in essence spoken about it, but I want to make sure that we cover it because y'all, this is so important for where we are right now. And I want to recommend to everybody, it's wonderful to be here and to feel the energy. And we shift every time we come together in this way, but to follow a path and to get into a practice is so critical, and to commit to that practice. Don't just buy the offer, do it once and do away with it. Really apply. And it's going to allow you to leapfrog ahead in ways that you don't have to experience the things with the uneasiness, the wobbliness that a lot of people are going to go through. It's just going to happen. One thing that I wanted to ask you about, Meg, as that source energy starts coming down, and I saw it like compressing what's out of alignment with it, the density, and it's coming out. Is there an aspect of attunement and refinement that we're doing with that energy, or is it just kind of like kicked out of the field, or does it
That's a
depend?
great question. That's a great question. I have found you could probably start working your way down the top layers really and kind of get that off pretty quickly. Um, but then I found that if there is really some deep core wound or some kind of like karmic lesson, it's not going to release until you actually become conscious with it and
Nice.
you are integrating whatever that is. You're holding yourself in loving compassion as you're healing, especially those core wounds, right? Whoo, those are, like abandonment wounds or betrayal wounds. Those things hurt, right? So you really have to be in that loving space with yourself and be with that energy, with your consciousness, right? With your awareness for it to feel, okay, I'm fulfilled and I'm complete. And then that will unravel out and release.
Beautiful. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Meg, take us through the special offer. Again, we've in essence spoken about it, but
Yeah.
again, you were compelled to put this together. You're like, because you just want to like sprint to the other side, but you can see it. But your guidance is like anchored and put it down. People are ready to receive it. Remind people how to do this. So um, perhaps get into the why you put this together.
Yeah, that's a good question too. Because I've put out very advanced training, but then I just felt like this year is such a I don't know, I got really strong messages this year. So many people are awakening that they need this tool and they need it in a way that is easy and understandable and applicable, and they can get started today. And I also think it's, even though I'm calling it a quantum access starter course, those who worked with me for years and beyond, they're not using it. So it's
Yeah.
a great refresher course too. And for you to just get in, I've put together, well, let me just pull it up and I'll look at it so I can walk through with you. It's like a roadmap. Okay. So I've put together, there's 4 lessons, they're video lessons. They are in detail of what these different blockages and barriers and where they exist. And then all the different protocols, the steps you can take to really get in and really, and within minutes, you can start unwinding that stuff off. And I have it in video lessons, I have it in audio activations. You can sit and use them like a meditation, but it's an active meditation. It's an audio activations of how to activate the vortex around your energy field within minutes and start pulling out the blocks, the barriers, the density, the traumas, wherever you are experiencing that, like we were talking earlier, any kind of opposition. I found it's almost to where a point I felt like I was in this tight box, right? Let's blow the box off. It was amazing to feel that come off, where it's like, oh my God, okay, now I my feet can expand and I can breathe and I can fill in with more of my own essence. So I've also given you checklists to follow and even a video demo of how to get the vortex up and around the field. So this is my go-to, get started, jump in, go at it. But then I also found, as you are working through the different lessons, like let's list them real quick here. So you have lesson 1 is increasing energy frequency. As I mentioned, you need to get higher so that you can start. It's almost like you're raising up so the soul can come in, right? So you need to increase your energy frequency. Otherwise, you're so dense, it's like the soul trying to get into a rock. It's not going to happen. So you increase your own energy frequency and create an environment for the soul to descend in.
Mm.
And then the second lesson is, as you are starting to work with the vortex energy and you're spinning all your atoms faster and faster, you also are starting to go in what we call the upward spiral of entropy, because we've been living in a planetary system that is in a downward spiral of entropy. And that means then entropy is chaos and disorder and decomposition. This is what we call aging, right? The downward spiral of entropy. So we have to flip the spin of our atoms. We have to move our energy. I'm telling you, when I first started, I couldn't even feel anything. I didn't even know if anything was spinning. I just had to trust it was happening. But the vortex will help you spin it. It'll accelerate the upward spiral. And then when we go into an upward spiral, think of it like a fountain of life force, right? Rising in you and feeding you and nourishing you and regenerating you. That's what we want. So you're getting into the upward spiral. You're starting to remove all these different blockages that I mentioned, and they're in all the bodies. All of them have them. And then you can deepen this soul connection. As I mentioned, the vortex has this vacuum state, so it starts pulling soul light, soul essence, soul energy into your chakra pillar. Your chakra pillar is your soul container. Nothing should be actually in that but your soul. And so we clean out whatever has any interference has gotten in there. Even the ego should not be in that chakra pillar. So we clean this stuff out and we start filling and building and increasing your soul light. Your soul energy is so healing. So getting that in you, it will build new healthy cells. It will regenerate your life force. Some of the benefits, of course, is you begin to have, because your soul is fearless and balanced, you start to feel that more inner calm. I don't have all the mental chatter going on now from the ego. I have, I'm in my higher self mind and it's pure wisdom, or it's just calm and still and quiet. And oh, it's so relaxing. And you're more grounded, you're more present, you're beginning to live outside of 4D time, right? You're in the now. You are really beginning to accelerate your spiritual growth and development. You're no longer under the control of the ego, right? You're moving into more of living as the higher self. And as I mentioned, you start to feel more whole and integrated. Now, this is where you start. This is where you learn the technique. This is where you start to apply it. But I also found out all my students wanted support. They wanted mentoring. They wanted to be able to work with me live. And so I have my own private membership program. It's called the Ascending Spiral Tribe. Lots of great people in there. And we meet monthly, and I do group energy work with everyone. And then we do take questions and requests from the members, and everyone benefits. And so it's not only is it our time together to continue to keep your progress moving forward, and you're practicing the technique with me, so you're getting used to it, you're getting comfortable with it, but then you also get to meet all these amazing other, I call them spiritual ninjas, right? All these other amazing souls who are on the path the same as you are. And we come together twice a month. And also in the membership, we have like a classroom. Well, we have a chat so everyone can ask questions and communicate and talk with each other. But then I also have a classroom where I will post some protocols to work with, or tips, or these kinds of things too, just to help everyone keep learning and developing and going into mastery.
That's wonderful. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for, again, the way that you share. It's so grounding, so applicable, so appropriate for where we are right now. And again, to put these practices in motion for ourselves, it's a game changer. It really provides grace where perhaps you would think that grace couldn't be found, but you can. And if you're guided by someone who's been there, someone who's led through it, has gone through their own journey with it, has had the full experience of navigating the deepest of the darkness and the lightest of the light, and that can guide you through the different places, you get the shortcut in many ways, if you will. And again, we're being accelerated into it. And of course, nothing that's for you will be denied. But at the same time, there's no reason to innovate when we can duplicate and create from that new place moving
Well,
forward.
and that's true. I mean, I've been time testing this thing for almost 30 years. So this works. Like, you get results. I wouldn't even be putting this out if it didn't. I'm like the biggest fan of it because I watch what it's done, and it's like extraordinary. And I noticed in the chat room, the package is both. It's the course and it's 6 months membership. So it's all in one.
Wow, amazing. Amazing. Y'all, it's $97 for this. This is crazy.
Big deal. Yeah, it's a
Thank you,
deal.
Meg. It's a
Yes.
huge deal. And that wasn't crazy in that wasn't obvious on the sales page that we had on the special offer page. So we'll make a modification to that. Oh, it's right there, the special bonus as a six
Yeah.
month. Y'all, I missed it. Again, I'm still spiraling out, but catching up, catching up. Um, Yo, this is all on here. This is amazing
Yeah.
special offer. There's a two payment option on it as well. You were going to say something, Meg?
Well, it's like you get started and then you can jump into the membership and really feel support. That was my goal. Is you can get started. Sometimes you'll take an online course and then you just kind of like whatever and you forget it. So
Mhm.
this time you start it and now then you're gonna meet up with me monthly and we can keep it going.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue, y'all. Again, $97, two payment options. Click on the special offer link. It's in the chat box, and it's there for y'all for being members of BTO as well.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yep.
And we'll get into some Q&A here. If you guys want to raise your hands, we can get into some questions. There's some questions coming into the chat box. And before we do that, Meg, the energy centers around the world. Again, you and I will be in Egypt starting and very soon. I'll be there next week. You'll
Very
be there
soon.
shortly afterwards. Um, I can feel the potency of I hear people say it and I it's like I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but it is what it is. Um, I feel like we're going there because we have the capacity to turn keys and doorways that are ready for us to access.
Yeah. All right. Where do we been at that? Okay. When I had my spiritual awakening, as I mentioned, I started having visits with Metatron, and I was trying to figure out how to run this vortex energy, which works like a time machine. Basically, it can
Mhm.
spin you back in time. It can spin you into potential futures. The thing is amazing. So that was like my little fancy tool that I was working with, and I would literally lose days. Right, I would go into trance, and I'd wake up, and it's like midnight or something. I'm like, where have I been? But I began to get to a place where at least I could stay cognitive and see where quite a bit of where I was going when I would travel. And one of the first places that this is the mid 90s, I started getting pulled to Egypt, and I didn't know. I'm like, this doesn't look like kind of the Egypt that I've seen pictures of. What is going on here? And it was like getting dropped into a Star Wars movie. So it was like this extraordinary advanced civilization, but it was what we would call a starseed civilization. And so the more that I would be kind of the fly on the wall and observe this thing, and I think what was happening is I was time jumping into my soul that was angelic. So I was kind of watching, right, from the top heavens down, right, the top down of what's happening here, and remembering, oh my God, is this is real. Like this happened. So let's just give a little bit of quick background on what I learned as I would hop over. It's called Zeptepi, which means first time. Researchers don't even know how long ago it was. It's before Atlantis. It's before Lemuria. It is there's remnants of it left. We'll be looking at some of that in like even in you go into the Hathor temple and up in the really high in the rafters, right? Carved into the ceiling are the story of they called them the primordial gods. These are the 12 root races that visited here from the multiverse, and they created this new star-seeded human template, let's call it,
Mhm.
like a human archetype. And this is when I go there, I was there last year, and I get into these really ancient sites. It's the veils disappear, and I can see the civilization. Like that happened when we are at the Sphinx, right? It's just like a sliding door opened up, and it's like whoa, and then you can see them all, right? All and it looks like a Star Wars movie. All the different shapes and sizes and colors and of these different races that came together and started to what do we call it? Birth a divine human, birth this star-seeded human. what I find so fascinating, though, is sure the history's fun and it's great to look at, but as you mentioned, John, that is kept within us. Okay, we haven't lost that. That is all sitting inside, in this little probably private little protected sacred space in there, right? That's waiting to light up. It's waiting to turn on. It's waiting to activate. I get chills even thinking about it. And so that as we're talking about these ascension gates now, active, alive, humming, buzzing, vibing, this is where we're starting to bridge the past, the present, and the future. And so I've been called in the last year to go travel to the past, which would be Zap-Tepi, Egypt. And of course, it's the throat chakra of Gaia. And then of course, all my time here in Mount Shasta, which is the present, it's the root chakra of Gaia. And then just a couple months ago, I went to Glastonbury. Heart chakra of Gaia is our future, right? We're anchoring in a heart-centered timeline. And so what Metatron is having me do is weave this golden triangle between the three earth chakras, right? The past at Giza, the present at Shasta, and then the future at Glastonbury, and really start to anchor in this ascension timeline. So this is all being guided, of course, from the higher guardians, and it's working. And so those ascension gates, so at all these different earth chakras, those ascension gates are starting to, they're almost like appearing out of nowhere, right? They're starting to like show up and shine up and light up and buzz and vibrate. And I don't even know where we're going with all this. It's amazing and exciting, but I believe that some of us have been called at this time. So, of course, John has been to drop in and weave together. It's kind of like a full circle moment, right? Weaving together what got started in Zap-Tepi to what is being activated now in the planetary field, in this ascension timeline, for all of us to start to awaken within us this dormant, we'll call it crystalline 12-strand star-seeded code waiting.
Hmm. And it's mind-bending.
Yeah.
The calling, because it's Egypt wasn't something that was like, oh my God, I have to plan, it's got to go. It wasn't a mental thing. It was just something that had to come together. In the last 16 months, I've been to Mount Shasta 3 times,
I
which is
know.
crazy. And I live in Hawaii. It's just,
I know. That's
it's a
like a lot
lot.
of travel there.
I
Yeah.
was in Glastonbury about 15 months ago. It called just out of the blue. I wound up going there and worked on some other portals and timelines and worked on healing also. I was called to the pyramids in Tulum and Chichen Itza a couple of months
Mhm.
ago, all in preparation of this. It's like the earth is speaking and activated, and we're showing up.
Yeah.
What is
I
our role? What is our
I
role?
even got I got called just a year ago to the south of France and all of the Magdalene
Yeah.
temples, and getting that. I got the whole resurrection codes activated with Mary Magdalene's skull in her crypt. Like it's just like, what the heck? This is all, like you said, very carefully orchestrated of what's happening to what we would call probably, the new earth wayshowers.
Hmm. And and again, it's like, why is it being orchestrated? What else is there? What technology are we unlocking within us that it's finally being said is like, it's time, or you're ready, or it's the next phase. And it's
Well, I'll describe what I saw when I would pop over to Zap-Tepi. I was like, okay, what do these divine humans look like? Okay, I see all the different aliens here, right? I see all the different shaped and colored root races, but what the heck are they creating? It was
yeah.
it was fascinating. It looked okay, so right, we're trying to go quantum, we're trying to go 5D, where we're both a wave and a particle. That's what they look like. They were like a very active morphic field that was constantly responding to the consciousness that flowed through it in every now. They were not hard edged, they were not solid, they were morphic fields.
Hmm.
So I would say semi-solid, like they would form and then they would shape shift and form and then shape shift, right? It's always responding to the consciousness informing the particles how to form.
Hmm. And it doesn't seem, it's apparent that we're leaving behind, we're evolving beyond enslavement programs.
So this planetary control, monitoring, enslavement program. This is since the fall of Atlantis, this thing has been running. Anytime we would come in through an entry gate to the Earth plane, we would have to agree to come into that system, and that's also what we're canceling now because we have this beautiful new timeline. We have this new Earth, this ascension timeline now. We don't have to be in that old system anymore. And so that's part of the work I do. We just did that this week with my membership. Cancel and revoke any participation in that control system and that enslavement system. We don't need to be in it anymore because we have another system that we can thrive in. And so it is an end of an era. It is that 29 degrees Capricorn. It's the end of that very out of balance. You kind of think about it in a hierarchy system, right? All the power and the wealth and the land and everything's just to the top. But if all of us who are down here pull out, that thing just collapses. And
Right.
that's what's happening. We exit out of it, we pull our energy out of it, we pull our power out of it, we go into the new ascension time. That's what's happening. That thing is toppling and collapsing.
Are we all going, or is there going to be, do you see it as a split where some people just do not want to awaken to the consciousness? They are more invested in the systems as they are, and perhaps there's a split of those that and maybe living in two dimensions within the same realm.
It's definitely a free will choice. So those who are awakening in these years were actively choosing to exit the matrix and come into the new timeline. Yes, probably those who are either really have amnesia and are in the program, they don't even know there's an option, or as you said, they're very invested in it and are holding on for dear life. But at some point, they're going to realize the game's over, and maybe then they'll finally
Hmm.
choose to bridge over. But the thing is it's not ego driven, so they're going to have to let all that go.
Right.
You can't bridge over if your heart is still closed.
And that's the beautiful part of this also, because as we hold our masteries, we break beyond the barriers of our spiritual power and we hold that potency intact. In that potency, I see it again as a vortex that spirals out, and it's going to do one of two things to opposing energies. It's either going to invite it in so it can be transmuted into its new frequency, or it's going to kick it out to its original source of where it came from. It's either or.
True. That's true. The thing is too is as the old system continues to get weakened, and as it's unsustainable. We're already seeing that. It's just it's losing steam, right? It's losing juice, right? It's getting weaker. It's almost kind of like the fear of missing out. I think you're gonna be like, oh,
Yeah,
this big swoop, this big deluge. Oh, get off the sinking Titanic and let's get out of this thing.
right.
Well, that is their wake up call. That is their point where they're like, oh, okay, the ticket into this new realm is I have to do some heart work, right? I have to do some ego work. And that's great because it might be the only thing that would motivate them to work on that and let it go. So it's going to be fascinating actually to see how that plays out.
It really is. How can we really stay in our lane as we're expanding spiritually and we're expanding in our vortex of light in that capacity and not feel like we have to be sponges for the shift that others are going through as well? How can we be in our sovereignty and work on really expanding and holding those pillars really strongly, um, and relieve some of the empathy that we feel, or we call it compassion, but really it's entanglement in different
It
ways.
is entanglement. Thank you for saying that because that's really all it is. So you disentangle, and that's actually the next course I'm going to be launching next week. So it's how to clear and contain. We have to disentangle from everything around us, people, places, projects, anything that is holding us over there in the old system. So so you do look for where you have any entanglement, any attachment cords, any kind of a meshing with others, any kind of dependency on others, folks. That all has to get cleaned up so
Mm.
that your empath system was designed actually to empath your soul inside you,
Nice.
not pointing it out to empath all the chaos in the astral plane. That doesn't do us any good. And I can remember when I was really struggling with this lesson, and I kept having these house dreams, and my higher self, gives me house dreams, and the house represents me. And so, of course, in the house dream, I wake up and the doors are wide open, and there's all these strangers in my house, and they're watching my TV and eating my food, and they're like, how long are you going to keep pointing your antennas out and open your field to all this violation and interference? Is like, oh, damn, okay. So it scared me enough to, again, kind of learn that mastery of focus. All right, my focus is I'm empathing my own soul energy, what matches that, what resonates with that, what is for my highest good. I still have my human eyes, so I can still see what's happening out there. I can read the news, I can get on social media. You got it all there, but my empathing antennas aren't ingesting all that energy.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. Such wise information that, again, just knowing this, remembering having someone reflect it back to us, it's like, oh, thank you. I didn't even realize that I was doing that. But once we realize
Yeah, it's unconscious. Or
it,
I think too, the ego loves all that drama. So it's just like, and it's just pointing right out to it.
well, the ego is also trying to maintain safety. So if we can
True.
control outcomes, we're going to empath
True.
the next move in someone else or their next
Yeah.
reaction, their next emotive response so
Yeah.
that we can be prepared. And it's how long has that served you truly? Never.
No, as you start to evolve from the ego mind up to the higher self mind, the higher self will let you know if there's anything you need to be aware of. You don't have to ingest the energy now, and you don't have to psychic spy. That's what we're also trying to stop. We don't want to be psychic spying on anybody because we don't want anyone psychic spying on us, right? So you start to rely on your own discernment and your own wisdom, your own higher self guidance, and that's how then in every moment what you need to know. You don't have to be so diligent and trying to keep yourself protected and safe because you're also in your soul pillar now, and nothing can touch that. Nothing can penetrate that from the astral plane.
Mhm. Beautiful, beautiful. We have a lot of questions about the special offer,
Okay.
so I want to go through those.
Okay.
Sir April, will you put this link for the special offer in the chat box again? Uh, just the membership alone is worth way more than the
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
I mean, way
So
more, just way
if
more.
you've already taken the course, you're getting the membership at a real deal.
It's amazing. Janice is asking, how's this course different than the other course called Break the Barriers that she purchased recently from you?
It's the same course.
It is the
It's
same
the
course.
starter course. Yeah.
Okay, it's the starter course, except in this, you're getting the membership on top of it.
Yes. Now you're getting the membership. Yep.
Okay, Janice, there you go, love. And actually, someone asked earlier, and I want to get to it. Someone was asking if you can talk a little bit more about the ascension chambers and maybe what's coming up through the ascensions. So, okay, they're opening, and we're going into ascension chambers, and what does that mean for someone listening right now?
Well, I call them the ascension gates. I don't know if that's what they're talking about, or if they're
I think
thinking
so, yeah.
that's the same thing. Okay, so every earth chakra has an entry, exit, stargate, or portal in and out of the earth plane. They're big. Think of it, like an airport terminal, right? That's what those are those chakras. I mean, those chakras are doing a lot of things, but also they're gateways, like an airport portal. And what was happening because of the control program we've been talking about is that the only way we could come through that airport, the only way we can come in through any of those entry gates is we had to agree to come into an enslavement program. All right, that was no fun, but
Sure.
our
Yeah.
our soul knew what they were doing, and we came in, and it's in your Akashic records. There's that agreement. So that's what we're canceling now,
Mhm.
and revoking and freeing ourselves from. So then we can exit that program. We can exit. I see it kind of like a dark web that is like a hive web in the field, and it's getting into the brain, it's getting into the mind, into the unconscious. And so when we cancel, we start to remove ourselves out, as John used the term entanglement. We begin to disentangle out of that dark web, and you're just pulling all your energy into your pillar of light now. That's going to be your new home. That's your soul pillar. You're coming into your new home, your pillar of light. And these ascension gates, or chambers, if you want to call them, are now no longer under the control. They're not under control of any of that dark presence, right? They are actually being guarded by the angelic. So they're a whole new, brand new entry exit, like airport terminal. Think of it like that. Now, when we shift into them, so you're shifting lanes, right? You're getting off the old one, you're getting onto the new one, you're on the ascension timeline, you're on the new lane, and then you can, especially if you are doing any astral travel, you want to go through the ascension gates. When we talked about enslavement program, what does that mean? It means for at least, what has it been, 26,000 years since the fall of Atlantis, that any soul that came through their gates was trapped in a reincarnational cycle from 3D to 4D to 3D to 4D to 3D to 4D. You've never gone home. You have never been able to exit the astral plane. You have not been able to return to your soul family or home. We have been, in a way, the slaves of Gaia. So
The
as
wormhole has collapsed. Yes.
yes, Cornwall has collapsed, and we're free now, and we can go home, and we can go see our family. And so this is one of the things I do actually in my monthly global meditations, is we do time jump over to home. We go to our home star, and we go to our home, because we haven't seen them, especially if you've been here thousands of years. You have been recycling. And think about that too. I was talking about the downward spiral of entropy. If you've been recycling over and over again, we devolve every single time. That's why we're in such sad state. And that's why we have to get into those ascension gates, into the ascension chambers, if you want to call it, into the ascension timeline, to begin to activate all this dormant light body that's waiting inside. So in your meditations, you can just talk to your higher self and go, okay, I want to step onto the path of light of the ascension timeline, and I want to step into the ascension chamber, and I want to just receive all the blessings, right? Receive all the light activations, and just go at a pace that your body can handle, because it's strong.
It's this is such great information. It's just so in alignment. Thank you for asking about the ascension
Yeah,
gate.
that's great.
We're in conversation. Barbara, I want to ask you a question in a second. Give me just a second. When we were talking about some of the enslavement programs and releasing some of the density also, one of the programs that comes up for a lot of people, and it's something that as spiritual teachers, if you will, or ascension guides, that we have to contend with also. But there's a relationship with finances and money and all that is
Oh,
adjusting in the field. And that's we're having relationship aspects with other people, but there's this support thing that comes in as we work to evolve our work so that we can serve one another and communicate this more and kind of spread the energy, if you will. What are you where it's coming up with that vortex that's spinning in a negative
yeah.
direction around money, that and what can we do to get it back online?
Okay. Very good question. We were born into this control program, and we're at the bottom tier, right? So it's already in a way designed against us, isn't it? So anything we did to try to generate any kind of prosperity, we'd always keep receiving this opposing force to slow us down or limit our progress and these kinds of things. So the
And
more that you
can I just rephrase something, because I want to bring in a big level, y'all. It's one thing to make six figures and pay your mortgage and everything else. It's another thing to say, okay, I'm prosperous, that I can take trips and I've got free and I can hire a couple of people to work with me, or whatever it is. And then there's also a type of abundance that big pharma and big oil has,
Mm,
that big industry has. And I'm saying that we can tier among those rungs in a very authentic and integrate way in alignment with where we're heading also. And so I just want to bring in that awareness as also that a lot of us are going through it's like, my finances do this, and how do I pay my mortgage, and how do I pay my assistants? And I know I've got enough money to do the next thing that I want to do, but to have the accumulation, the sustenance to really build something that is foundationally undisruptible is another thing. So I wanted to bring that into the conversation, Meg.
Yes. So with that vision, what I have found getting into the new system, it's a heart-centered system, and it's a circular system. So we have this inflow that comes down the chakra pillar, and then we share that abundance out into the world, heart-centered, sharing, giving. And then it circles back, and we get the inflow coming down and in. So you start to get into this, we call it, in physics, you call it a continuum, right? It's
Mhm.
continual inflow, outflow, inflow, out. It's circular. When we're in the hierarchy, it's all mental, right? And effort. Okay, so we're dumping that, right? We're pulling out of that, all right? We've had enough of that. And we start working with our energy with more of a vertical, if you're noticing, I keep doing that, a vertical flow up and down your pillar. You open your pillar up to the abundant universe, the quantum field. You start using what I call the soul flow. So the more that you pull your soul in, you're pulling your flow in, and it gets into that circular continuum, never should run out. All right.
Mm.
So we're talking two different operating systems. Like you're
Yeah.
going from, Windows DOS to, iOS, you guys. This is a completely different operating system. We have to get used to it, and we have to get accustomed to it and kind of learn its nuances. But if we're all blocked in here, we have no flow coming in. That's the problem. That's why we're trying to clear our containers, right? You've got your physical container, you have your auric container, which is mental and emotional bodies, and then you have your soul container, your pillar, which is your soul body. We want to clean that up, so you are now an open receiver, an open channel, open flow, and it's your soul flow, which is your beautiful divine
Mm.
presence, pulling in exactly what you need. And they're powerful. Those souls are powerful, pulling in what you need in the continuum. And and because we're out of their system, we're not having all that opposition or pushback. Does that make sense? It allows it to really begin to circulate.
Mhm. Does one have to empty out before the other can circulate? How can we
No,
work
they can
systems?
cross
Yeah.
over. We bridge for a while as yeah, because I didn't go like 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did not happen. I had to keep pulling myself over some more. Oh, found a little more. All right. Yeah, but you in a way you're kind of got one foot in each lane, right? And you're learning the new one, and you're dumping the old one, and yeah, you bridge over.
That's wonderful. And I also want to bring this into awareness so that we can have compassion for the bridging for ourselves.
God, yes.
This is it's not easy, but it's amazing, y'all. And even though it's not easy, it's also simple if we're in the practice, if we're in awareness. There's a faith that is actually a knowing, because we're aware from that soul essence of what we're capable of and where we're heading to as well.
Soul totally knows how to do this.
Yeah.
We get out of our own way, yeah, the soul knows
Mhm.
how to do this.
Yeah.
The higher
Amazing.
self knows how to do this.
All right, let's continue here. And I do, if we can go into a process before the end of the call, that'd be great. But
Problem?
Barbara, if you'll unmute your microphone, what is your question for Meg, please?
Hi, Meg and John. Thank you for everything. It's quite wonderful.
Mm.
Barbara.
Thank you. So my question is related to the embodiment and somatics part of this, because it's a big part of me and who I am is the somatics and the embodiment. Like, it's even hard for me to be sitting here for this amount of not moving, right? Just as an example. So I'm really curious to know and understand more about that and how that fits into all of this. I had an experience in an altered state. I had this experience for hours where I was moving, and I felt like I was like speaking words from the Hathor Temple, which I happen to have been to 5 or 6 years ago, but something related to a languaging that could only be embodied, that the only way to translate it was somehow through movement, that
Oh, I
words.
see.
Anyhow, I have all these wild things, and I'm just asking about the embodiment piece because I don't hear it discussed very often.
Well, that's the whole goal of my work. So you have within your body the neural network, right? And then above the crown, you get the etheric neural network, right? And it becomes almost like this pillar becomes like your intranet, and it's your channel. And so the more that we bring our soul light frequency down through the neural network, if you want to call it, you're beginning to pull it also into your chakra centers, into your own physical energetics. So you're kind of stair stepping or descending the soul energy, the soul light through that network down into the body, but it's all inside your pillar. It's you're not going outside your aura at all, right? It's all happening inside your pillar. And I also mentioned in this course I'm creating right now, I began to watch my chakra pillar change too. So that's starting to dissolve. So we have in the typical energy body, you have those prime colors of your chakras, and I began to realize they were fading and they were dissolving. And so that's when Metatron kept saying, you're clearing your human energetics, which includes even your kind of 3D human chakra pillar. So your crystalline soul pillar can replace it. That was an extraordinary experience. The soul pillar has gotten so big, it encompasses your body, and it is pearlescent. It's not the hard edged prime colors anymore. It's your soul colors and your soul tones, your own harmonic tones. You're going to bring all that. And it just tingles and vibrates, and it excites the cells, right? Everything is spinning and buzzing, and that's your soul life force. And you never will ever want to go back from that once you embody it. So I think too, as we were talking earlier about the kind of the dormant Septepi crystalline star-seeded codes, is you get your soul presence in, you get your soul light in, your electrical currents coming in, it will begin to interact with whatever is stored of the more advanced divine human. Will start to light that up, turn that on, and activate that as well.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's embodiment, Barbara. That's it.
And I assume that means the senses also.
Oh, yeah. And even the point where, like you were talking about language, like I just kind of open my mouth and my higher self speaks. I see through the eyes of the higher self now. It's all been transformed. The kind of that human identity is just also dissolving. It's just very much a conversion happening from the lower human psyche, human self to the higher self.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Yes, good question.
And just to add more fuel to your awareness of the chakra system, about 7 years ago, I had guides coming in, and I was half awake, half asleep, probably 2 o'clock in the morning, and they were like putting new chakra system, like new chakra energies into my system. I saw it, and they're pearlescence. They were very translucent. They weren't the primary colors, and I could see what they were doing when they were doing it. It was so surreal. But you speaking about it just validates more of what I know is absolutely true. Yeah.
I watched it that disappear, and I watched the soul pillar, but I realized I was kind of watching it from outside, and I kept hearing my heart self go, "Get in your pillar, get in your pillar." I'm like, looking at it, I'm not in it. And so that was another step of getting in my pillar. And then that really was like, whoa, it really changed things.
It's amazing, y'all. It's amazing what's coming through, and the capacity that we have to hold and expand and really step into our spiritual power, which is again what the call is about today. Chris put the link for the special offer again in the chat box. Y'all take advantage of that. Again, this is potent, effective, just amazing work, and connecting also, because we start connecting with others of our resonance in the harmonic in which we're in, and the communities are just absolutely beautiful. And obviously you're part of that, and there's more. What else is possible? And I want to invite y'all to keep asking, what else is possible? What else is possible?
That's the exciting part. What's coming? Yes.
Right. Amazing.
Yes.
So, and of course we're going to run the replay, so we'll send the link out for that later in the email. And Meg, can we end with a transmission?
You want to go onto the ascension timeline and then get in the ascension gates?
That would be amazing. Yeah.
You want
Let's
to do that? All right, let's do that because we've been talking about it. And so we'll walk you through the steps to do this, and then you can repeat this on your own when you you want to keep it going. But so I'm going to walk you through just a few steps of Metatron's technique, quantum access, to get the vortex. We're going to use this vortex. We're going to get this vortex up and running around the aura. It's around your auric field, right? On the outside, around your auric field. It's an accelerant, as I mentioned, right? It spins out, it pulls in, it unifies. I mean, there's so many things it's doing. You could just get in the vortex and spin in silence, and you're going to have results. Like it's an amazing tool. All right, let's go ahead and come into our core because we've been talking. Let's just start to refocus. All right, so we're going to come into the breath and into the heart space and into our bodies. Kind of just dropping our attention down from the mind and into the core center. If you want, you can put your hands on your heart and solar plexus. You're just directing your focus down more into the body. We're dropping in and tune into your inhale, exhale, because we're going to go into more of that circular flow. So we're training ourselves. And we're also going to go into the vertical flow, so training ourselves. So as we're dropping into our breath, heartbeat, core, belly, inhaling chi into your body, into your chakra pillar. We're going to continue to move our way down, and like you're sitting into your hips, stepping into the lower root chakra, lower human chakras. And then we're going to continue to move our energy down the leg channels to the feet chakras. And go ahead and imagine you're locking your feet chakras right onto the crystal grid of Gaia. So it's the ley lines, crystal and grit ley lines. Okay, there we go. And the feet chakras work like magnets. Imagine they're just like right onto the crystal grid. Yes, good. It helps if you're sitting with your feet on the floor, if you're standing with your feet on the floor. We're going to use the whole body. You can also envision moving like roots of light out of your feet chakras into the ley lines of the crystal grid of Gaia and become rooting more into her light body, into her grid. Okay, good. Because these ascension gates are on that grid. The ascension gates are on the crystalline grid. So let's go ahead and now envision that we're going to ground our feet onto that path of light, that runway of light, right? This is the ascension timeline. So getting your feet now, you're choosing with your free will. I'm going to now connect and ground onto the ascension timeline, onto that path of light, onto that runway of light. Okay, there we go. Now you're starting to connect to that under your feet as your new home, your new foundation for your light body, for your energy field. Ooh, there go the magnets. They lock on right onto that path of light. And let the light of that path surround your whole body like you're now immersed into that ascension timeline. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're becoming in one with it. It's very uplifting. It already starts to lift our energy vibration. Okay, now we're going to work with Metatron's cube template. And I'm going to embed that under your feet and your grounding onto the path of light. And as you connect with it, you're going to give it your light, your life force, you're turning it on. And those 12 circles of Metatron's cube start to rise as pillars of light or beams of light up and around your body and aura. And they're humming and they're toning and they're vibrating with the 12-dimensional harmonic tones, the phi harmonics. We hear this as Om. You might hear them pulsing and vibrating around you in Om. And they're beginning to rotate. And they're going to rotate right to left, from your right shoulder to the front, to the left shoulder to the back. So right to left. All right, there they go. They're starting to spin around your body aura. And as they spin, they're beginning to accelerate and speed momentum, where those beams begin to merge and blend and form a vortex of diamond white light spinning around you. There it goes. Whew. Faster and faster. And it's what we call an expanding radiating vortex. So it's moving from the feet about 45 degrees, like a V shape outwards. It's starting to open and expand your field up and out into the higher dimensions. There we go, opening out. And begin to move into the ethers. You begin to move into the field of light, into the field of God. You're just going weightless. You're moving into what we call the wave state, becoming energy waves of light. Oh, there you go. Just merging in. Like becoming one with the ocean. Connecting to all of existence in the quantum field. Oh, there's no separation here. All right, B, you're going to stay there. Oh, and then we're also going to bring our attention and start to spiral back into our chakra pillar and get more concentrated with your energy. Just spiral into the heart solar plexus, coming right into your core center. There you go. Now you're coming into the particle state. This is the cells. This is the atoms of matter. We're connecting now into the particle state. Okay, there we're in. We're also in the wave state. I'm going to use this vortex. We're going to spin at the speed of light, starting to collapse all barriers, blockages, veils, separation membranes between the wave and particle state. And there they go. They drop out. Ooh. And it opens you to the quantum field of all that is. You're going quantum and both physical and spiritual at the same time. Yeah, there you go. Adjusting to being in all that is. You're still grounding with your feet onto Gaia's grid. And let's bring from Metatron's cube, it's called the resurrection spiral. It's rising up from your feet from Metatron's cube. Again, it's a right to left spin, but it's tighter and it's coming up to the root chakra. And we're moving it up your pillar, right? We want to clear and open your soul pillar. So spiraling up and starting to clear out any stuck energies out of the chakra centers, rising up the pillar, opening your pillar, moving past the crown. We're going to go all the way up to the top, 12th chakra, top of the pillar to your higher self. Ooh, there you go, all the way up. That's it, resurrection spiral. We're starting to train our energy to go into the upward spiral of centropy, of creative renewal and regeneration and animation and activation. And at the top of the pillar, go ahead as best you can, connect to your higher self. I always do kind of like hand on my heart, hand on higher self heart. You're just going to go heart to heart bond. Your higher self is the soul aspect that is you in this incarnation. So it's like the Meg aspect of this incarnation. It's you in this incarnation. Okay, there you go. Everyone's starting to connect to their wiser higher self. And as you do that, you connect to your unique soul energy that's made of light and sound. So tuning into your unique soul light energy signature, your own frequencies, your sound waves, your tones, your harmonics, your vibrations. Oh, there we go. Locking on to your soul light and soul vibrations. We're going to reverse. We're working vertically, come back down the pillar. And in the center of a vortex is the vacuum. And it's pulling soul energy down the pillar. So just breathe in. It's called the inflow. Ooh, streaming all the way down through the crown, into the body, filling soul light, soul vibrations into all your chakra centers, into your pillar, all the way down to the root pelvic floor. Breathe in, call in, pull inwards, soul energy, soul presence, soul light, soul essence, soul consciousness, filling your soul container inside you. Yes, good. All the way in. Especially anywhere you feel low or depleted. It's like filling up your tank. You're going to fill in with soul power. Your soul light is your soul power. So you're filling with solar light power. Yes, look at that. Your whole pillar starts to illuminate radiate, vibrate. Whew. And as we are embodying soul essence, so our feet are grounding to the crystalline grid, we're grounding onto that runway of light, that path of light, the ascension timeline, and let connect with your higher self, have your higher self, and we can ask the angelic guardians here to assist you in stepping into the ascension chamber, the ascension gate. Hope that is the perfect one for you. So this is your ascension chamber. Like mine is at Mount Shasta, your chamber, wherever that exists. Okay, good. Everybody is shifting in. Oh, and let it, it's huge, it's massive, it's crystalline, it's shimmering, it's alive, it's active, it's vibrant. Let it interact with you. Ooh. And you can receive any blessings from it, receive any power from it that is for your highest good. Ooh. Ooh. And it's literally changing us at the molecular level. This is how we are lighting up the inner and the dormant template for becoming a being of light, becoming a divine human. There we go. That's lighting up some more inside your core, in your inner blueprint, inner code, inner templates. Ooh. You can also just breathe in the ascension light, the ascension energies into your pillar, into your being. Whatever your higher self is bringing to you right now. And while we were talking about the open receiver, right? Your pillar is opened all the way to the multiverse. So you're going to start to pull down the pillar, your soul flow, your soul inflow, your soul abundance, your soul prosperity, your soul money flow. Bring that down the pillar and pull it into your core for safekeeping. Breathe it in, receive it in, call it in, open the flow. That's it, all the way in. Pulling in your soul flow, your money flow, your abundance flow. Whatever you need to live your soul incarnation and to fulfill your ascension. Oh, there goes more coming in. Just breathe it in, receive it in, pull it in. One of my mantras is that I'm open receiver for all that my higher self is bringing to me. You just open receiver, receiving in all that your higher self is bringing to you. Vortex is spinning it down the pillar and into your body, into your core. And then it's starting to ground all these activations. And so we're going to use the vortex to spin inwards, ground in, merge in, blend in, integrate in all the steps we've done, all the activations we've done, grounding all the way down the crown, down the body, down the legs to the feet, locking in at your grounding to the earth plane, onto your physical life, in your physical body, in the now, in the ascension timeline. We set that in motion now, and so it is.
So it is.
Is. Ooh, that's taking hold.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, y'all. Can the
Stay
listeners
open.
come back and listen again and come back in and anchor back in? How often do you recommend? Should they wait a few days?
I do it every day, but I also have been doing it forever. I
Yeah.
would watch how you're going to listen to your body. Your body's going to tell you, okay, I need a day off. Okay, I need a rest. Okay, I need to integrate that. So maybe you start with once a week and see if you can work your way up a little more. But pay attention to how the body is able to handle that kind of infusion and activation and give it time to integrate. And you also, the more we pull of soul in, right, that's pushing out the lower energetics. So don't be surprised if you are also releasing lower energy. As I mentioned, this morning I woke up and I felt like I had an energy hangover because I was like, whoa, I was releasing stuff. And within an hour it was gone, but it just feels almost like dead weight on, and it's, you can use the vortex to just spin it out and it's gone, it's done. So you don't be surprised if you feel some releasing as well. We want that, actually. We want the soul to move out the energies that are not the match.
Meg, this has been amazing. Thank you so
My
much. Thank you for
pleasure.
that this process. Wow.
Always a joy to be here with you and everyone who's joining us. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, always. Y'all, the special offer, the link's in the chat box. Click on it before we hang up and at least keep it open in a tab if you're not going to get to it right away. So that way you don't lose the link. Of course, we'll send it out in the replay email. And come back and listen to the replay. And until we see y'all next time on the other side of Egypt, truly. Blessings to everybody. Thank you for being here. Meg, I'm excited to give you a big hug in person when we get to
Yes, we'll see you soon. All right.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye
Love
for
you
now,
all.
everyone.
Talk to
Love
you
you.
soon.
Bye-bye.